Okay, thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you for having me here. So we saw the video earlier that talked about the internet, about technology, and I'm just going to ask a very silly question. How many of you here have smartphones? I'd be surprised if I didn't see any arms raised, right? So all of us, pretty much, it's become a cliche that all our life revolves around that one device that we always carry with ourselves, that we check every few minutes, that goes everywhere with us, sleeps with us, monitors our activity, our communication, and everything, right? So gone are the days when you needed a computer, you needed to sit on a desk and work. For me, myself, I write, I do a lot of different work, and most of it revolves around my phone. There's barely ever a time when I pick up my computer, only once, twice, or thrice in a week at maximum, right? So now, because technology is so accessible, because smartphones have become so affordable, and internet data has become so affordable for us, an increasing number of people are connected worldwide to the internet. But we never take a step back and think about this new technology that's entered our lives. What are our rights regarding this technology? What are our rights revolving around the internet? What are we allowed to do and what are we not allowed to do? Why are we not allowed to do that? And who controls this? What are the laws around this? And do we deserve such laws? Do we deserve more privacy? Or do we deserve more security on the internet? So these are the things I'll be talking to you about today. So I'll be touching upon three fundamental rights that also our Constitution guarantees. So I'll be talking to you about the right to privacy, which is protected by Article 14 of the Pakistani Constitution. I'll be talking to you about the right to freedom of speech, which is protected by Article 19 of the Constitution. I'll be talking to you about the right to information, which is protected by Article 19A. But I won't just be talking to you about the laws around this. I'll be talking to you about how our use of the internet every day relates to these rights, and how many times are these rights being violated by governments, by companies, and by other individuals, and what we can do to protect these rights of ours, or what measures we can take to minimize the violation of these rights on the internet. So I'll be starting off with one of the fundamental rights, which is the right to privacy. Now, under this, the right to privacy, what is privacy? When I explained it to, once I was teaching very little kids, they were middle school, primary school children about privacy, and I told them, okay, what is privacy? And they were like, when you want to hide something. And I said, yes, when you, for example, use the bathroom, why do you close the door? Right? And they all giggled and they said, oh, because of privacy, right? So it's as simple as that. It's your personal space. It's your personal information that belongs to you and that you want to be protected. If you're talking to two friends, do you want other people listening in between? Or if you're talking to your family, do you want anyone snooping on you or not? Right? When you put out your information, do you want companies to be picking that information up and selling it or not? These are the things that we need to be asking ourselves when we use the internet today. Because recently, with the Cambridge Analytica leaks, we found out that 70, or I think it was around 90 million Facebook profiles, personal information was sold off to PR companies that then use that personal information to target ads towards those Facebook users in order to target manipulative political messaging. Because this company, Cambridge Analytica, was hired by political parties in a range of different countries in order to manipulate elections. And they will show you ads based on your browsing history, based on your personal information, and based on the views you express on social media. And using that information, they will tailor videos and ads on your profile that you will see that can have a manipulative impact. But such companies and such people politically also use fake news, which is a huge phenomenon today. There's so many fake accounts on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and different social media platforms that spread out fake news. Every day, I'm sure you also hear your father telling you, oh, look at this video, or look at this news, I just got this forward on this WhatsApp group of, my friends, that, the Jordan queen has died, or, oh, a nuclear bomb has exploded. But what is that? There's a lot of fake news going on. And there are some facts that do seem like fake news. You'll be like, this is too absurd, this can't be happening. But a lot of it sound very real. And what do? We believe it and we forward it. But what is that doing? That's damaging the truth, and that's damaging the way we live and the way we think. And that is a major cost of technology. So what can you do to combat fake news? First of all, be responsible about news that you get yourself. Before forwarding it, verify it, right? Check what the source of this information is. Double check it on the internet before you forward it. But on a larger scale, base your opinions, base your views, not based on just hearsay, but on solid research, because technology makes it very easy for us to believe things, because in our WhatsApp inbox or in our Facebook feed, we're getting so much information and we're falling for it. And that is compromising our right to information, because that right to information is not right to disinformation or misinformation. It's right to truthful information. And if there's loopholes in the technology that allow for this to happen, something needs to be done about this, right? Furthermore, within right to privacy is also the issue of cyberbullying and of harassment. Now, everyday life, we do face a lot of incidents that can count as harassment. But what is harassment on the internet? A very famous case came about in Pakistan a few days ago of a friend request that a doctor sent to a woman after examining her. And there's a huge debate about what is harassment and what constitutes as harassment, right? But at the end of the day, just look at the online world not as a separate world, but as an extension of your real world. So if take the offline equal situation of what is happening online, the interactions that you're having online, would you allow those to happen in your personal life, in a real life setting or not? And that is where technology can start making sense to us. Because for the longest time, we've been looking at the internet as another world. We say in real life, IRL, that's real life, and the internet is not real life, it's just the internet, but that is not true. The internet is real life. We are communicating through internet. We are getting information from the internet, so it is as real as it gets. And hence, it is important for us to take things that happen online seriously. If people are getting threats online, if people are getting harassed online, if people are getting bullied online, if people are being made fun of through anonymous groups online, that is a problem. And these are violations of rights that we need to start taking seriously, and we need to take steps to improve that. So how can we do that, right? So before I get into what steps we should do, I want to talk to you about another very important right, and that's the right to freedom of speech. Now, before the internet came about, how did we get our information? It was through the TV, through radio, through newspapers. There were editors who were okaying news reports. There were journalists who were going out and getting information. But now we live in an era of citizen journalism, where on Twitter and on Facebook, anyone can post anything through blogs and through information, and that is what our source of information is. Whereas there might be some risks and harms of it, it's also very, very empowering. In areas where you do not have media access, such as areas in Balochistan or the federally administered tribal areas, FATA, or Gilgit-Baltistan, where TV mein you never hear about these areas. Now, through the internet and through social media, people who've been ignored for too long are finding a voice, and they're mobilizing, and they're able to present their point of view to you instead of you listening to the propaganda of the state and news organizations telling you how people live, what they are, what you should think about them, and what wrongs they're doing. Now you're finding out that no, not everyone in FATA is a terrorist, or oh, not everyone in Balochistan is an Indian agent, or not everyone in Kashmir is a certain way. Now you're finding out that just like over here in Islamabad, Lahore, or in large cities, you have diversity, you have good and bad people, you have good and bad people everywhere, and you're finding out through social media, through trends, that people are able to express these feelings about what they feel is going right and what they feel is going wrong. And that is a great thing, right? Because now you're able to connect with people, and it's not just within your country, it's outside your country also. Now you will find out that not every Indian is your enemy. There could be people you could get along with, and now you find out that in America, not everyone hates their family. People live with families and have family values also, as opposed to what we're told for a long time. So the point is that the freedom of expression and the right to freedom of speech that you get on the internet is able to connect us to people, is able to break those stereotypes about others, and is able to tell us that what preconceived notions and stereotypes we hold about people are not entirely true. But also, it is giving a voice to people who've been oppressed for too long. It's able to bring to the fore a lot of good information that you might have not gotten before. But how are these rights being violated? How is your right to information being violated? What is the right to information? Like I said before, it's the right to access information unfiltered. And you, as the citizen, as an adult, should have the decision to decide what is true and what is not, and what information you should be able to access and what information you don't want to access, right? But in light of all of this, there's big business corporations such as Facebook and Google who are deciding what you will see in your news feeds, right? Then there's censorship from international and local and national governments. And at the same time, there's also a lot of threats going out to people. We've seen bloggers going missing. We've seen a lot of newspaper articles being taken off the internet. Why? Because they criticize the state policy, and the state does not want you to hear the other side, right? So while we're getting empowered through the internet and through social media, there's also a pushback from states around the world that are trying to stop people from getting empowered and stop people to get to know what is actually happening. Why? Because when people have that access to information, when people have the right of freedom of speech, they will speak up, speak the truth, and sometimes that will go against the corruption of the government. Sometimes I will go against the oppression that the state does, and sometimes I will go against the corporate interests of large businesses. So all the more reasons that citizens today need to be mindful of what their rights are, and we need to push for these rights to be protected. So how can we protect our rights on the internet, right? So first of all, we can make use of the protection of the Constitution. You have laws and you have rights that actually tell you that this is what you're entitled to do. These are the right to information, expression of privacy that you're entitled to, and these cannot be broken. So when you argue about this, you should make use of the laws that exist. The issue in our country is that people do not know their rights and people do not know about the laws. So if we know about the rights and we know about the laws, we'll be able to be more active citizens and not be controlled by corporations or by states, right? Or that information be controlled. And we need to keep pushing for a narrative for policies that center around human security. Yes, national security is important, but at the same time, that security needs to be refocused on human beings as well. What is the point of a state of borders that are protected if human beings within that country are not protected in various ways, if they do not have access to basic rights, right? So the state needs to prioritize the people first also, and that's something we need to start pushing towards. Because why should we be pushing towards a human security state? Why should we pushing towards an internet that is open, or pushing towards information that we access because we want to access it? Because at the end of the day, how does the state run? It is through our taxes that the state runs, and it's through our votes that a government is elected. So we are the owners of the state, and we are the ones who should be able to decide what we're able to do and what we're not able to do, as long as we do not harm another individual. So at the end of the day, because we run the state through our taxes, because we elect the government through our votes, we should be the ones who decide what information we access on the internet, instead of being dictated by the state that this is what you can access and this you can't. And I'm talking about censorship here. At the same time, we should be able to express our opinions about what we think is right and what we think is wrong, because at the end of the day, we are the citizens and it is our country, so we need to take ownership of where we live. And when we take ownership of it and we express what is right, we express what is wrong, that's the more patriotic thing we can do. Because why? We are Pakistanis and we believe that what the government or what the state is doing is not right. Why should we be scared of speaking up? Why should we be scared of becoming a missing blogger or a dead journalist? We should not. Because at the end of the day, it is our country, and it's our duty as citizens of this country to express ourselves and to express that, yes, this policy of the government is not okay, it needs to change, right? Or this information needs to be accessed. And for that, we need to start taking a stand, and it has to start with the empowering medium of technology also, because now we can reach out a large number of audiences just through our own agency and without depending on anybody else. So that is why we need to fight for protecting our rights on the internet. Thank you.